Yeah, so if you've just got a couple of fish, it's actually very common for them to hide.
So sitting there?
Yeah, I can. That one's a shabunkin.
Yeah, so I got 2 of those.
Yeah, 2 shabunkins. Yeah, it's fantail shabunkins.
I don't know if that's okay.
Yeah, they're fine.
And I don't know how many you can have in that bit.
Well,
The waterfall goes there.
the issue is they get big,
Right.
but they are fine. So, they're definitely an option. The fantails are definitely a concern in these sorts of gardens because the birds love to eat them.
Right.
But those particular ones look nice and
Dark.
yeah, they look very well hidden. But if they were like bright yellow or something, and the birds
They've
could
been
see
in
them,
there now 3 weeks.
so I would suggest they're going to be fine. But just be aware that they are going to grow, and then as they do get bigger, if they end up in the main pond, then they might knock off some of the mountain clouds or the baby mountain clouds.
Oh, right, okay.
So leaving these 2 here is definitely going to be an option. And then in the main pond,
I've got 2 orange ones.
goldfish.
Yeah, that aren't fantails. Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine, but just be aware that the goldfish are going to grow.
Yeah.
So while they're small, it's okay. But as they get bigger, because you've actually got a lot of baby mountain clouds in here.
Yeah.
Like if you look carefully, you can see tiny little baby ones. So what happens is the mountain clouds will breed themselves. Yeah, there they are there. You'll have trouble seeing them on the video. But they will breed themselves into population. So the more you look, the more you can see them. Tiny little baby ones scooting around.
Yep.
And see, the thing is that they will breed themselves into population. So what happens is this environment can handle a certain amount of livestock, and the mountain clouds will do a very good job to breed exactly to that capacity.
Oh, right.
It was nice that you put the white ones in there because they were going to stand out a little bit more. Now, the only thing is that if you just left that as is,
Yep.
and you left that as is without the filter running, then eventually those ones are going to grow too big, and then as they're too big, they'll produce too much waste, and eventually they'll die. And then these ones will breed and breed until they get to what's called biological capacity. And then at biological capacity, when there's more of them, then nature has to kill them, because nature will only ever allow a certain amount of life within one ecosystem. Otherwise, some of them have to die off, and that's just how it works. Now, the variables is, number one, don't do anything at all. If you left that pond particularly and you never ever fed it, then it will create its own ecosystem, and everyone will live, breed, die, and that will go on potentially for a long, long time. Now, as soon as you turn the filter on, what happens is good bacteria starts to grow in the filter, and then that means that the system can now handle more fish. So instead of handling that much fish, now you can potentially handle that much fish. And then that's when food comes into it. Because if you have, if you start feeding your fish and you don't have your filter running, as your fish get bigger and they need more food, they will produce more waste than the system can handle. So then later on, it'll end up going to shit, because now there's too much waste for what nature can deal with. Then you're going to turn the filter on, and what the filter is going to do is grow bacteria in there, and it's also going to get the waterfall going. And then the waterfall is going to increase your dissolved oxygen level. Your dissolved oxygen level is going to increase your redox potential, and redox potential is how fast the bacteria can break down in the filter. So if you have stagnant water and no gas exchange, then you have low dissolved oxygen level and low redox potential, which means the bacteria that you have can't do as much. Suddenly, when you get this one going, the water's going to come up, it's going to go through the filter, then it's going to go down here, and that's going to aerate the water, and the aeration of the water is going to increase the dissolved oxygen level, and it's going to increase your redox potential, which means the bacteria in the system now work much better. So it means that sort of everything runs better. So also inside this filter is a UV sterilizer. So in a minute we'll open that up and we'll look at the UV sterilizer, because we want to have that running because that'll help to keep the water really clear. But once a year, you got to replace the UV. It's also not a bad idea to not actually have the UV on all the time, particularly if you do anything like clean the filter out like you did. So when you clean the filter out in the future, you want to just clean it using water from the pond, which has had water ager in it. So what we need to do in the pond now is we'll just do a water test and we'll see how we're going. But we just got to be aware of water ager. Now, if we just top up a little bit of water, a little bit in a day and then later on a little bit, not really much matters. But let's say that we did a water change and we take water out and then we put water back in again. If we're doing a larger amount of water and you put tap water in it, then you can potentially kill off your fish, but you can kill the good bacteria in your filter, because the water, depending on when you do the change, can have chlorine and chloramone in the water. Because Sydney tap water doses their level to a maximum minimum level depending on the amount of chlorine and chloramone in the water, the amount of pathogens in the water, then they dose the chlorine and chloramone to get rid of them. So you can use tap water and have no problem, and then another time you can use tap water and have a massive problem. So just when you are topping your pond up, just get in the habit of sort of every 5 centimeters, just give it another dose, just dose the pond. And that just means that the chlorine is going to be dealt with, so you're not ever chlorine bombing your tank.